welcome back to my channel. I'm here with another astrology oracle reading for you in very mercurial fashion. My goodness, we have had some technological difficulties this morning. We are doing a event chart for this reading for Dayton, Ohio at 11:11 a.m. and this gives us a Taurus sun, Leo moon, and Cancer rising. So tomorrow we enter into Mercury retrograde. Fun. And I'll tell you what, I've been feeling it over here. We've had weird things going on with our technology. Our modem blew up, basically, just stopped working. So yeah, if you are doing anything super important, give yourself some extra time. If you can avoid signing a really important contract right now, I would maybe suggest that. And that will take us through to the beginning of June. So not too long, but just enough time to, apply the rule of recheck, reevaluate, re-strategize. Good time for that. So this card is sticking out to me today, and it is the fourth house, roots. So when I look at the current natal chart that I have created for this reading, the fourth house is kind of split between Libra and Scorpio. So I do not use whole sign houses. If I were to use whole sign houses, then it would be just Scorpio energy that we're referring to for this chart, but I use Placidus. So we have an almost exact, very even split in the fourth house. And one thing I like to do when I'm looking at houses as well as zodiac signs is look at what is opposite to that. So opposite to the fourth house is the 10th house and also the midheaven. So this is where we look to kind of learn a little bit about how other people see us. And also with the 10th house, there's a lot involved there in like ambition and legacy. For some people, that turns into a lot of insight for their career path. And for other people, maybe it's a little bit more insight on their public persona that maybe isn't the result of very Saturnian hard work, which is typically what the 10th house is associated with. So somebody that has a very prominent, 10th house, we always want to look at the fourth house to see what's going on there, and vice versa. If somebody has a very, very prominent fourth house, it doesn't kind of hurt to investigate what's going on in the opposite direction. I have known a few people that have had a really sort of messy fourth house that used their 10th house as a way of self-healing. One of my favorite examples of this, an indicator for self-healing, if you will, is someone I was doing a reading for was describing having a really hard time at work. They were saying that there were, not enough boundaries, not enough, explanation and context, that they felt like things were a little unpredictable, and it really rocked their sense of security. So I took a look at their fourth house and I asked, growing up, based on some of the things I saw as indicators, did you have a lot of rules or not? And they were like, I had no rules growing up. I was able to do whatever I wanted. My mom didn't check up on me a lot. I had my space. I had my freedom as a child. It's not really something that you need as a child. Even if it's something that you want, you need a sense of security and containment. So what was happening is this wound from childhood was being directly triggered in that 10th house, where at work, there wasn't enough structure and discipline to really feel like they knew what was going on, like the, sort of predictability and comfortability of like having a long-term career, is that like you kind of know what to expect. So when you grew up in a situation where, your roots, your foundation was really rocky and unstable, and you look to really have a fruitful, very responsible career path to kind of, work with that energy, right? Very oppositional. And then that work setting that you're looking for this stability, through isn't satisfying that need. We have to go back to the original root of the problem. And when it comes to the fourth house, this is all about roots. This is all about our foundation. Very often the fourth house is associated with mothers. So if you are a mother or someone who chooses to celebrate mothers, yesterday was Mother's Day, so it's a nice little call out for that. The reason it's associated with the mother is because the fourth house is associated with the moon. And typically the moon, is the designation of the mother in traditional astrology. It's not for everybody, you know what I mean? For me personally, my mother is way more alive in my 10th house than my 4th house, but I do have the moon in my 3rd house. So it's just interesting to kind of see those dynamics play out. But my mom was in the military. She was the career woman. So for me, she has a much more significant presence in my 10th house as compared to my 4th house, where, you know, my dad stayed home with me and my brother for a lot of the time. So his influence is much more, you know, present in that 4th house for me. And some people don't grow up in the binary. Some people have 2 moms or 2 dads or 2 parental figures that don't have any distinction in the, you know, very hetero-binary type of vocabulary I'm using here. So use it at your will. You know, if you're not a fan of, you know, mother, try nurturing, right? There's so many other, you know, synonyms that we can insert here to make this work. But the basis is when we're talking about the 4th house, we are talking about your upbringing. We're talking about your childhood, and we are talking about what laid the literal foundation for you to become a person and who you are today. You know, the interesting thing about the 4th house is it's kind of a secret chamber, if you will. There is a lot of information you can extract from your 4th house, even if you don't have any planets there. So me personally, I have no planets in the 4th house, but I look at my 10th house and I have both my sun and Mercury there. So when I go back and look at that 4th house and kind of break down, you know, the archetypal meanings of these things, you know, me personally, I always saw my career as an opportunity to share my ideas with the world and really be seen, you know, have my ego stroked a little bit. That is the sun, where I didn't have any of those needs met in my early childhood. So 4th house, it is your roots, your mother, or the nurturing parent or the nurturing figure. Obviously, a lot of people are not raised by either parent, or raised by grandparents or adopted. So essentially, you know, look to the 4th house as kind of just some insights on how you were nurtured, you know, as an individual. And also, you know, where you kind of need to come back to every once in a while to kind of feel at home. So again, based on the chart that I have created for the reading today, we do have both Libra and Scorpio ruling parts of that 4th house, really infusing that energy. What this may mean is, you know, and something to consider, we have currently both Chiron and Venus in Aries. This is the sibling sign or opposite zodiac sign to Libra, which is, you know, again, since we're talking about the 4th house. If you're someone that has a Libra 4th house, this is probably a really difficult time for you right now, because we have Venus, which is a home, you know, planet for Libra, as well as Chiron, which is a wound. So we almost have like love, romance, aesthetics, values, all these lovely Venusian ideas really inching closer and closer towards Chiron, which is a wound. And all of this is happening in fiery Aries. So again, if you're somebody with a Libra 4th house or a Scorpio 4th house, depending how that sits for you, this could just be a bit of an uncomfortable time, just in terms of like the highest point of the chart really starting to get activated, you know, with that Chiron wound. And then, you know, the romance coming in from Venus, the values, you know, a sense of security even. And, you know, when it comes to Venus and Aries, I like to believe this is an excellent time to start really, you know, diving deep into your sense of like self-care, self-nurturing, you know, and really just focusing on the self. Because when it comes to Libra, this is the other, right? When it comes to Aries, it is the self. And Aries typically rules the 4th house with Mars. So there is a lot of like action energy. And of course, this is cardinal energy. Both Aries and Libra are cardinal, meaning that they're zodiac signs at the beginning of seasons, spring and fall. And so again, when we're talking about a lot of this, you know, Aries energy, which we're just going to continue to dive into, soon enough, we're going to have Jupiter moving into Aries, and, you know, eventually Mars will make its way there as well. So, you know, up at the very tippy top of the chart, again, if you're a Libra or Scorpio in the bottom of your chart, this is just a really intense time when it comes to how other people perceive you, your, you know, legacy and reputation, which is all 10th house stuff. It might be a really good time to just really start prioritizing, you know, are you being seen the way that you want to? So, fourth house in general is just a great place to kind of come home to yourself a little bit and start to understand, some of your subconscious instinctive motivators, especially within your emotions, because this, again, the fourth house is ruled by the moon. So look to wherever the fourth house is in your chart. See if you have any planets there. If you don't, see if you have any planets in the 10th house, just to kind of understand where you're trying to instinctively balance that energy. And really tap into your emotional sector. Your unconscious and subconscious processes come from various parts of the birth chart, which I will include a link down below so you can learn more about that. But this is just a really great place to just kind of get almost primal, get into a space before you started worrying about other people's perspectives, before you started getting into intimate relationships. Go back to almost the infancy of your chart and really look to, how do you nurture yourself? How do you nurture others? How do you nurture growth in your life in general, whether that's with friendships or your career, or, are you fostering healthy mental health habits, physical routine habits, whatever that may be. So again, fourth house is a really good kind of callback to a really young foundational part of our chart that is, again, we're talking the fourth house. We have 12 houses in astrology. So we're still, really right there at the beginning with the fourth house of our life journey. And, when it comes to the fourth house, it can be a really tender spot for people. So again, if this is a topic you're not interested in diving in, maybe consider some shadow work around this. I think the fourth house is an amazing place to look for shadow work, which I am talking all about in my new series on shadow work that is available for email subscribers only. We dispatched the first messaging, which is journal prompts, a Zine, and a video yesterday. So if you want to sign up to get the goods, I highly recommend that you do it now so you don't miss anything else. But at the end of the series in June, I will be making all of the lessons accessible to everyone. It's lifetime access. So if you're in need of some shadow work, hit me up because I got you. So that is it for this week. The fourth house, roots. For some people, they have to design what family looks like for them and, kind of let go of their rooted system and create something new. And, even the most beautiful gardens with the most lush flowers and blooms still have to dig back, some rotten roots and some, dead vines, and not every lush beautiful garden is just growth. Sometimes it is extraction and removal. So if you need to remove something from your root system, consider that. We do have Mercury retrograde this week, so I don't necessarily think it's the best time to cut ties with people. But when we're thinking of Mercury retrograde and the rule of re's, rethink, reevaluate, re-strategize, reapproach, putting re on front of everything. When it comes to your roots, maybe you need to reroot. So that is all I have for you this week. Thank you all so much for tuning in.